having a discussion about Christianity. So this is the conclusion that I've come to as far as what it actually saying at the end of the day, right? And this isn't a knock on Christianity, but it's a look into the logic of what people are saying when they say they believe in these concepts. So it's important to at least bring to light what people are actually saying. We believe in this. You understand? And these are important things that we have to address. We don't just say, well, I mean, just because I respect you and I love you, it doesn't mean that we don't try to say, okay, well, this doesn't make sense though. You see what I'm saying? Or this to me doesn't make sense. You get what I'm saying? That's not how we operate. You know, you have to challenge each other's religions if you're going to be honest with each other at the end of the day, and that's what we're going to do here. So here we go. Alex, who's Christian, by the way. Skeptical Christian, though. You know what I'm saying? He's basically got questions. So what better place to have your questions answered than by me, right? I'm all happy now. So here we go. This is basically the message of Christianity. It's saying this, right? God is saying, according to Christianity, the Father, the human being is incapable of good, right? They cannot do something good. They cannot. There's no such thing as a righteous man. You see what I'm saying? And so, because they're basically created in a state of doom. You understand? It's a fallen world. Adam ate the apple, that's it. So the human being is not capable of good. He's going to commit sin, and a sin is punishable by death, right? That's it. The only thing that can cure sin in the Bible is death, unless this happens now, right? Because of this state of failure that humans cannot achieve otherwise on their own, through their deeds or through their actions or through anything they could possibly do, no matter how they act or what they do, there's only one way to compensate for this utter failure of these human beings. And that's basically the blood of Jesus Christ. Do you understand? The blood of Jesus Christ must cover for their sins, because they're incapable of doing anything to earn my or God's mercy, either way it goes, the Father's mercy, right? They cannot do anything in their lifetime to receive his mercy. He won't accept it because they're just incapable. They weren't made capable to do anything worthwhile of mercy. So the only thing, and because they're inevitably going to keep failing, and they're going to never basically live up to what anything could possibly worth for forgiveness. So because of that state that the human being is in, the only thing that can save them is the blood of a lamb, of Jesus Christ. That's the only thing that can compensate for that. You get what I'm saying? So that's where we're at now. We understand. You get it? All right. So now that that's the case, this is what's going to happen, right? And you got to ask yourself at the end of the day, do I agree with this concept or not? It's up to you. But I'm going to propose the concept for what it is, and I'm not going to try to dress it up in a way to make it more palatable in any which way, right? Now, I'm the Father. I'm going to come down to earth as a human being. And not only am I going to be on earth as a human being, I'm also going to be my own son at the same time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So now I'm sending my son to earth, who's also me. So at this time, I'm my own son, and I'm myself at the same time, and I'm my own father. So that's a concept you got to say, okay, you figure that one out. I'm not going to bother, because I don't know how you can reconcile that to say that makes sense. But that's up to you. Moving forward. And as I'm on earth, I'm also going to take on basically the full components of a human being. I'm going to be a full man and a full God at the same time simultaneously. Now, when I say I'm God, I'm saying that I'm eternal, I'm absolute, I was never born, I will never die, I have unlimited powers, there's nothing I cannot do, right? And I'm all-knowing. You understand? And I'm going to be this person, Jesus, who I'm also is going to be my son and his own father at the same time. I know. It's hard to understand because it's a mystery. That's the thing. At the end of the day, when you do actually question somebody and say, how does it add up? They're going to say it's just a mystery. You're going to have to just accept it, bottom line. That's basically the final answer to that. I've been there, right? Not knocking anything, but that's reality here. You understand? And that's what we have to come to terms with. What are we saying when we're saying these things? And if that's something you accept, then that's between you and God. I don't care. But at least we're going to put things in order for what exactly they are saying here. You understand? So that you know what you're accepting and what you're not accepting. That's the point. That's what we're here for. You understand? So anyway, in this scenario, right, now I'm also going to be doing things on earth as God and as a human being simultaneously. For instance, I'm going to do things that human beings do that God would never need to do, such as sleep. So now I'm going to have weaknesses. I'm going to need sleep. I'm going to do things that you can never imagine God doing, like use the bathroom. You understand? Like things that are really outrageous to imagine God is doing these things. You understand? Like these things are really kind of an insult on the Creator if you were to even think about it in a normal context. But since I'm in a human form, it's okay. We're going to just accept these things, right? If you chose to do so. I'm going to basically also be existing inside of a womb for 9 months. And I'm going to be in there and I'm God in there. God is inside of the womb and I'm a human being inside of the womb. There's just a lot going on. I'm going to be delivered and everything. You understand? Stop laughing. I'm not trying to laugh. I'm really not trying to be funny. Actually, I'm not trying to be funny. But you see what I'm saying? I'm just stating the reality and you think it's funny. But I didn't say anything in a funny way. But that's what we're saying. You get what I'm saying? It's a very monumentous thing we're talking about here. You know, there's a lot of gravity going on. You know. Anyway, moving on. Okay. So now I'm going to live and I'm going to grow up. I'm going to learn things I didn't know. I'm going to develop. And I'm supposed to have all my knowledge immediately, I would think, but that's not the case. I'm learning as I grow, right? And you see what I'm saying? I'm going to do miracles, but I'm not going to do them in the name of myself as Jesus. I'm going to do them in the name of the Father. And I'm going to say to people, when I do these miracles, I do not these things of myself, but of the Father who is greater than I. So now that I'm a human being, I'm acknowledging I'm not even the greatest. I'm saying, and I'm acknowledging I can't do these things. So as a human being, it's as if I've lost some of my powers. I'm no longer fully God like I'm supposed to be. Because God fully means he has unlimited powers. Do you understand? So there's a problem there. You have to think about that as well. Do you understand? Let's move forward. I'm going to be asked questions that I'm not going to have the answer to. Such as, which I told you before, when is the day of judgment? And people are going to come up to me and say, when is the day of judgment? And I'm going to say, neither I, and I'm going to equate myself with another creation, which isn't God, nor the angels know this information. Only God knows. Do you understand? So now I'm not even all as God walking around in this human form. It seems I'm forgetting things too. Do you understand? I don't have my full mental capacity either to know what I should know if I'm God, which is everything. I've lost that. Do you understand? So there's some issues here to try to say that I'm fully God and fully man at the same time, because obviously there's a lot of the parts of the God piece seem to be missing inside of me as I'm walking around as a man. Do you understand? So I don't understand how that works. I mean, I've studied Christianity and had multitudes of conversations with Christians throughout my time, and I still to this day, it will never make sense to me, honestly. Anyway, moving forward, that's not the point. My opinion doesn't matter because I'm Muslim. You know, I could just be trying to say something to make you Muslim, obviously, because I'm Muslim. I obviously want you to be Muslim like me. Otherwise, I would be like, I think I'm going to hell. Would you like to join? That is a joke, you know what I'm saying? But obviously, who wants to do that? Moving on. Now, we move forward and we just forget about all that other stuff really quick. Now, I'm also about to die. Do you understand? And I'm also going to make a sacrifice. Now, the idea of something that's going to be sacrificed, you understand? And think about this stuff. All my Christian friends, this is deep stuff I'm giving you. Don't think I'm attacking you. I mean, it is a challenge for sure, absolutely. But this is good for you. If you're on something wrong, this might help you. If you're not, you'll get deeper in your knowledge, and maybe you'll put an explanation down low and help out people. You understand? Maybe you'll guide me to Christianity. You never know. Allahu Alam. I just want to be in the place that goes to paradise. That's all I care about. So anyway, the thing is this. I'm about to be put on a cross, right? And I'm going to do it voluntarily pretty much, right? And this is going to be the process by which now your sins can be forgiven. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Now, a sacrifice is about to be made. Now, the term sacrifice means you lose something. You have to exchange something that you can't get back, which now exemplifies another problem. How can God himself make a sacrifice? Because sacrifice indicates a weak position, meaning I can't get this calculator unless I sacrifice some money in exchange. Do you understand what I'm saying? That means I had to give up something I can't just get back. I had to lose. Now, when you put the word God and the word lose in the same sentence, there's a problem there. Because, first of all, it's God that is in the body of Jesus. It's hard to keep saying that because I get confused just trying to keep mentioning how that situation works. But anyway, God is the one walking around as Jesus. If God, how can he die, number one, when he doesn't die? And how can he make a sacrifice when, if he's going to lose this flesh of a human being, he could bring it right back anyway? What is he actually losing? He doesn't even have anything to lose. He's God. He can become Jesus 10 billion times over again. Do you understand? So where's the actual sacrifice? And also, for him to feel pain. God is the creator of pain. Do you think God was getting whipped and feeling like real pain? Does that make sense to you? That now God turns into a human being and he's actually hurting. Like, you know, when we go through painful experiences, we can't do nothing about it. That's the nature of pain. God is taking voluntarily shots, man. Do you think it's actually affecting God? Do you think a human being could punch God enough in any form imaginable where he's going to be like, ow? Think about that. It's God. I don't care what form you put him in. You can't hurt God. He ain't feeling nothing. You know what I'm saying? Think about that. Think about this. These are good points. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm recording this, because once I get into this stuff, I don't want to lose all these valid points that come to you as you're talking about it. So anyway, I mean, if only I regulated what I would record, I'd be better off. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if I didn't have to record every damn thing, I'd be a better off person. But anyway, you know, that's why I'm a human being. And that's why we make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? We're not smart. But anyway, the thing is this. So now, right? I can't help it, man. I gotta be stupid. So anyway, you know, this is me, man. I'm funny. So the thing is this. Now God is losing stuff. God is dying, right? And God is feeling pain. And more than that, God has been trying to accomplish a mission for a long time. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he himself came to earth and was unable to convince people, man, of an idea. And that's that he's God. Now, can you believe if you were face to face with God in any way, shape, or form, you're not going to believe him? God is so mighty and powerful and all encompassing that anything or anybody or any creature that ever meets God in any way, shape, or form is not going to have a problem believing that. They're going to accept it. They're going to be like on their face, this isn't a human being coming to you. This is God coming to you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense in that aspect, that God tried to convince people and they still didn't believe him.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Only human beings have ever failed at trying to convince somebody of something. God, if he wants to convince you, if he came all the way to earth, you're going to believe him. I'm sorry. Bottom line. That's the power of God, man. You know? Anyway, moving on. Just to name off a few other things on the deity of Jesus. You know, this is why I don't believe he's God at all. The devil in the Bible carries God. He carries Jesus to a place so that he can tempt him now, and so he can tempt him. How can God be tempted? And he tries to tempt him with the kingdom of this world. Well, if God's the creator of the world, what would even make sense to try to tempt him with anything in this world even amount to? Like, this world isn't even a cornflake for God. It's not even a grain of sand, dude. So how can God even be tempted at all? You get what I'm saying? I mean, do you honestly think, okay, the devil's like, okay, God's in his human form today. I'm going to try to take advantage of his weakness now because he gets weak when he turns into a human being. Do you see what I'm saying? God does not negate, you cannot negate any of his qualities at any point, moment, time. Otherwise, it's not God. Do you understand? So if anyone ever comes up to you and doesn't know something, that cannot be God. If somebody comes up to you and doesn't have a certain power and is not all powerful, it cannot be God. Simple as that. That's how you know who you're worshiping. That's how you know the person you're worshiping is the right person. Because they will fit the simple criteria that God exists as. That even atheists would acknowledge that has to be what God is. You understand? He's all powerful. He's all knowing. He was never born. He will never die. So somebody comes up and says, well, God did die on this date. You got to say, that doesn't make any sense. That's an impossibility, man. So if you accept it on whatever terms after that, then that's just between you and God. You understand? But all I'm basically asking whoever watches this and whoever hears it is to think about that concept deeply for yourself before you accept anything. I don't care what a book says. I don't care what a list of books written by scholars say. These are just simple concepts that you just sit back, close the Quran, close the Bible. Let's put the books over here, because Allah doesn't want us to get lost in so many scriptures that we forget what makes sense, because the direction he wants us to travel in should be pretty clear and easy to understand. It shouldn't take 20 verses to tie them together into a rope and then, okay, now I get it. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how you know somebody created a dogma for you in a line of thought you have to follow. You're following someone else's line of thought, and then someone else can easily contradict that, and then that's why now when you come down to it, you have so many lines of thought on this one idea, because it's all a bunch of humans' opinions. So you have a brain, you have a mind. Think about this concept for yourself. That's all you got to do. And if you just simply have a goal of worshiping your creator, you'll get there, because Allah will guide you to that. It's as simple as that. But if you have a goal to follow a specific religion, then you're going to find what you're looking for. Allahu Alam. You shouldn't even be a Muslim without thinking about, why does Islam make sense? Why do I believe in Islam? You have to evaluate yourself. How do you know Islam is true? Allah didn't just create you because you're from this country and you're born in this to be successful. That's negating the reason you're even alive and why you have a brain. You understand? So the whole concept and the point of our existence is to use our mind and to just use it for the sake of figuring out, who do I worship and how should I go about doing that?
So my question, now that y'all kind of knew something I was saying, but it's nice to hear it out clearly.
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
Go ahead.
But now let's shift it over to the other prophet.
Okay.
Muhammad.
Yep.
Now, he was a man.
Prophet Muhammad was a man.
As was, for our intents and purposes, Jesus Christ of Nazareth was also too a man.
Yeah.
So as a man, or as a human, you do things that are befitting of you. You get married. You
Exactly.
have children.
Exactly.
you get tempted,
Yep.
you make mistakes,
Yep.
right? So, what of the Prophet Muhammad? Did he do things like turn wine into water? Or turn water into wine? Did he do things like cure the sick?
Did he do miracles?
Yeah, because there's a lot of mystery. Because I don't know too much about him.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a history class, and our historian, the professor, Mr. Lillier, the great guy,
Mm-hmm.
he said something that offended 3/4 of the room.
What'd he say?
He said that the Prophet Muhammad was the most perfect prophet.
Oh.
For the intents of being a prophet.
They got mad.
He got mad. I mean, he's a Christian himself.
Oh.
He said that.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I mean,
And
the thing
said
is,
that
he.
Jesus can't have been more than just a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want to go into the details.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
many
I get
people
it.
were mad. I mean,
I get it. Oh, let me answer your
So
question.
I want to know about Muhammad.
Let me get your. I'll just answer a quick question and end the video. So the thing is I don't want people to be like, well, he edited it at the end.
Yeah.
He's lying. Get him. You know. Anyway, the thing is this. So with the Prophet Muhammad, he was a human being for sure, and just like we believe Jesus was a human being, and just like Moses and Abraham and all these prophets were human beings. The thing is this. They were the best of human beings without a doubt. And the Quran says, do not differentiate between the prophets because they are all the prophets of Allah. Do you understand? And so what did Allah do? He sent us the greatest of mankind to give us the message, which is befitting. It makes sense. If you're talking to God, just that natural interaction is going to make you the best of mankind. It's not going to make anything elevate you as a person better than that. Think about it. You're seeing angels, man.
Yeah.
You know, an angel visits you for God's sake, and that's your professor. Think about that. Anyway, the thing is, but yeah, they did all bring miracles to give evidence and proof to the people because Allah created us with a brain. He didn't just say believe blindly and accept what I have to give you. No, He would give the people a rational argument to say this is without a doubt a message that's true. And so He did that with every prophet, including Muhammad as well. Now, Muhammad did do a lot of miracles actually throughout his life. You see what I'm saying? He had a time when he would feed so many hundreds of people out of one basket of food and one pot of meat. There was other times when he would just have one jug of water and he would feed so many people with one jug of water, hundreds of people. You know, when he would ask Allah for these favors. He split the moon is a miracle. That's well known. Yeah, he split the moon. He did it for the Quraysh, right there, bam.
What does that mean?
He split the moon. The moon split in two.
Yeah.
It did.
Why did he do that?
Because the Quraysh came up to him. They like asking like you. They were like, give us a miracle. Do something for us.
Yeah.
So he did it. He said, bam. And he showed the people two moons. It split. See what I'm saying? Two pieces.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he put it back together.
And it came right back together. I mean, that was a miracle. He did a lot of miracles, honestly. But the miracles of all the prophets have left or died with them. The difference between Muhammad and all the prophets before him is that he left an everlasting miracle, and that was the Quran. And the main miracle of the Quran to begin with is the fact that it has never been changed. It's the only religious book you'll find. It has never been changed ever. You understand? You can find it in its original form, and it was preserved through memorization. There's no other book that's been preserved. So you know.
A lot of Muslims memorize.
Yeah, over 10 million. They've memorized the whole thing. You see what I'm saying?
Even if Arabic's not their native language.
Oh yeah. Probably there's more hafizes of the Quran that aren't even Arabs, that don't even know Arabic.
They just know the Quran.
They memorize the Quran though, yeah. The best ones I've ever seen, or some of the best, they come from Pakistan, honestly. They're great reciters. But the thing is so that's one miracle of the Quran. Another one is the linguistic miracle of the Quran. And that's what the Arabs understood immediately, because Muhammad was illiterate. He wasn't a poet. He could not recite poetry. But the Quran was at the highest. He was illiterate. He couldn't read. He couldn't write. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So it's these kinds of things that make it click in your head like, whoa, there's no way he could have made this book if you put a little research in the book. So basically, yeah, he couldn't read. He couldn't write. But yet, till this day, the Quran is the highest level of Arabic that exists. You could ask any Arab linguist and ask him about the level of the language that the Quran is at. And it's actually because of the Quran that the Arabic language is still preserved till today. That's the reason. Otherwise, Arabic would be a completely different language. It'd be something completely, wouldn't even recognize it.
So he made this book out of his illiteracy.
He was delivered the book. by God through the angel and also through direct revelation. So that's another miracle to let you know.
But he didn't write.
He couldn't write.
This was coming.
Exactly. And when it would come, it would come. That was it. He would never be able to edit it or change it or anything. It would come as it came. And it came over the period of 23 years.
And he couldn't even read it.
He couldn't read it, no. He could memorize it, though, and he recited it to the people. See what I'm saying? So, exactly. I mean,
That's why there's a lot of Hafiz who just remember it because
exactly. Now, another thing about the Quran is, I mean, the depth of knowledge it has in it is unbelievable. The Jews would come up to the Prophet Muhammad and they would question him about things that nobody knew about. Even their top scholars wouldn't even know. They would be like really secretive religious information. And they would ask him this stuff and he would always be able to answer them. Let's see here. One time, I think they asked about the people in the cave. That might have been one of the questions. And there's a story about the people in the cave and their numbers and how many of them were in the cave. And Muhammad ﷺ, he knew the answer to that. You see what I'm saying? And there were several miracles or several things that he knew the answer to. I think, they asked him about the soul, the Jews. And he said, a few things that were right. And then he said, but however, the soul is something that Allah gave us little knowledge of. And they were like, yes, you're right about that too. So he was tested by the Jews. And every time they would test him, they would be blown away. That's why
centuries of research, secrecy, and he just knew.
he knew it, because he's dealing with God. It's not a hard thing for him. But for them to test him and to confirm what he knows, those things are also proof
So what did they say?
for them. They would be like, yeah, you're right. And they would leave. They would basically be kind of angry though, because they're hoping to, their goal is to try to stump him. But at the end of the day, he loved the Jews. And they did have a good relationship between them, a lot of them. Some of the Jews did try to, break treaties and, kill them at times. But whatever, that's not the talk here. The talk here is basically, they had a good relationship. Muhammad loved the Jews. He owed a Jew money when he died. And the companions of the Prophet paid back his debt. So there is a really good relationship there. And so, you're stupid. Don't say that. This is a politically correct video, dog. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, the thing is, so on top of that, moving forward a little bit more, now there's also just vast amounts of knowledge. It all goes to one man. You got to realize that. And there's no mistakes in the Quran. It's a perfect book. But to cap it off, just for something that could relate to us really quick and to end this video, why the Quran is a book that you can look at and have no doubt about it, is number one, is theology makes complete sense. You'll never have a conundrum where you have to wonder, how does this add up? That won't happen to you. I don't care what language you even translate it into. Every person who ever reads any copy of any Quran in any language is going to come away with the same exact faith as I have. Do you understand? So they'll understand that there's only one God. His name is Allah. Hold on. I'm talking about the basic faith. They'll have the same faith. I'm not talking about law. This is a book that also contains law. This is a book that also contains a legislative system to run an entire society. And so, yeah, that's when you want to pass a fatwa. You know what I'm saying? You have to have deep knowledge of this book, and you have to have deep knowledge of the language, and that's when scholars have to come in. I can't say anything about those kinds of things. You understand? And there are differences of opinion on those things because we're running a whole nation. You understand? I was trying to be one day to go study, but Allah never allowed me to go, so it wasn't my destiny. He wanted me to be here talking to you and struggling for this civil engineering.
Do more harm to Islam. You don't know too much.
Who knows, man? Who knows? Anyway, the thing is this. So Allah is the best of planners. So now the thing is this. Just finishing off here. Scientific miracles in the Quran. That is also one of the most powerful things you'll read about. We're not going to go on for too long, but there are some things in the Quran. There's over 1,000 of them, but when you read them, you won't have a doubt about it that at least these things are amazing that you're reading them. Do you understand? Because it's impossible for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to know these things. These are things we only found out within the last 50 years. Because he was not a scientist. He wasn't literate. He wasn't reading science books of ancient Greeks or anything. You see what I'm saying? He had no knowledge of these things to begin with. The people of the Arabs were not scientific people. Do you understand? And so to think he ran through and found all these correct things, it's silly. That's silly. But anyway, you can appreciate some of the things really quick. The moon, he talks about how the moon is a reflected light from the sun. It doesn't produce its own light, like many people in the past have always thought. The bee itself, right? He talks about how the bee is a female bee that does the work. The worker bee in the hive, that's a female bee. Shakespeare thought it was a male bee. In one of his plays, he had it as a male bee, or one of his, I think, a poem he wrote or something.
For what?
What's that?
For what? A male bee?
Yeah, like during that time, they thought it was a male bee. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Up until recently, everyone thought it was the male. If you go up to anybody and ask them, is it a male bee or a female bee that creates the hive, that does the work, that builds everything? They're going to tell you it's a male, because that's what we naturally going to think, right? Anyway, no, it's a female bee. In the Quran, that's what it says. Moving on, though, I don't want you to be convinced or even moved by one or two things, because somebody could say, well, he got lucky on that and he basically whatever. That's not Islam. Islam is a clear message without a doubt to let you know this is the right way to go. Allah doesn't want you to be confused and to think, wow, I wonder if I'm going the right way today or tomorrow. I mean, that's not the point. The point is, here's the way to go. This is clear. There's no doubt about this. Now, can you do it or not? Can you be steadfast? Can you be patient when the time is to be patient? Can you resist what the temptations are that I'm going to send your way? Can you do your 5 prayers like I command you? Can you handle your business? You understand? That's what Allah wants from you. Allah doesn't want you to wonder whether or not you're on the truth or not. That's not the test. Allah make that part real easy. You understand? It's whether or not your heart is ready for whatever the truth happens to be. That's the test. Do you understand? If I'm preconditioned in my brain to say the truth is going to be whatever it is my parents were, or I love my grandmother who was Muslim more than my dad because he died when I was young, who happened to be Greek, my dad, then I'm going to be Muslim because of that. Or if I'm going to say, actually because I grew up in church, I'm going to be Christian. You understand? That's not for me to do that. It's just for me to simply clear my head and go to the Creator and analyze what makes sense with the brain I've been given. That's all you got to do. And if you do that, there's no way you won't find whatever the truth is, because Allah's not going to be here to confuse you. That's not what He wants. He just wants you now to be tested and to see, now that you have the truth, are you going to stick to it? Right? Are you going to overcome the tests when they come? Now, here we go. Some more miracles just to finish off. The sun, is it stationary or does it actually rotate around something greater than it?
It rotates around something greater than it.
You know that now, but that's new knowledge. As it's rotating around, that's what the Quran says. It says it's rotating around something greater than it in the sky. You understand? And it's also talking about... That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and Allah also says in the Quran how every heavenly body is in orbit around something else in the sky. So not just the sun, not just the earth, but everything up there is in orbit. Nothing is stationary. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what Allah says. Now, the sun, does it just go around or does it rotate on its axis like the earth does? It rotates on its axis. Just to let you know. That's what the Quran says.
Oh, I don't know the question.
Hmm?
Yeah, I know.
You see what I'm saying?
It wobbles.
And it rotates on its axis. It's spinning on its axis, just like the earth is.
And it wobbles.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we have day and night.
Yeah, exactly. So now, on top of that, we can talk about a mountain. And this is the last one I'm going to go with. There's 1,000 of these things, man, honestly. And these are pretty clear. They're very clear scientific evidences, man, that this book is saying in it clearly. Do you understand? These are clear verses. And Allah describes the mountain as pegs, and He says He placed the pegs into the earth so that the earth would not shake, to prevent earthquakes. See what I'm saying? To prevent the earth from just moving around the whole time. Do you understand? So when you look at a mountain and you were to pick it up, would it be flat on the bottom or would it also be deep into the earth, just as high as it is? Exactly. That's what the Quran describes it as. But how does now you got to ask yourself now let's just back up here and end this video because it's getting way long. The thing is, let's back up and say, how is it now at the end of the day that this man who came to Arabia, who was simply somebody who was illiterate, you see what I'm saying, and lived in the middle of nowhere and never had any idea of having a history of performing any kind of scientific anything, Do you understand? Couldn't even read or write. Do you understand? But all of a sudden, he brings a book with knowledge that is only being discovered within today's day and era, 1400 plus years later, number one. Number two, bringing a theology that is as simple and imperfect today as it was when it first came. Do you understand? There's nobody that would have any issue with what he's talking about. So it's a completely viable option for theological reasons. Number three, he came and created the greatest revolution on the earth ever. A guy named Michael Hart wrote a book called 100 of the World's Most Influential People. He put Muhammad as number one. This was a Christian historian. You understand? Nobody has ever come to the earth and made the people themselves change and changed his society and changed the world as a result of being here more than this one man. Do you understand? You have to ask yourself that. Man, this might be a sign. I might want to look into this guy.
He's a man.
He's a human being. But you see what I'm saying?
Otherwise, Jesus is just as influential, but he's not.
No, Jesus was also influential.
You know what I'm saying?
As a man, I'm talking about historically, Jesus too was historically influential. No. But what I'm saying is he was not as influential as Muhammad. Yeah. When you look at it through a historical perspective, he didn't take over his society. He didn't become the ruler of the people that he came to. You see what I'm saying? He didn't have as much of an effect on history as Muhammad did. You know what I'm saying? I mean, as soon as Muhammad dies, within 25 years of his death, you have the majority of the world living under an Islamic state that fast. You know how long it took before Rome became a Christian nation? 325 years. You understand? So we're just looking at it in just hard historical, facts here. You understand? So anyway, you add it all up, and I don't think you can come to any other conclusion. He brought a book that said it will not be changed, and it was not changed. If you look at it through a historical researching perspective, not in a perspective of I want it to be this way, so I'm going to say it's this way. Do you understand? If you look at it like that, you'll say, yeah, this book has actually never been changed. There's nothing I can say other than that when I research it. You understand? So anyway, those are the things that you should ponder on. Hard facts. And just, take it easy. It shouldn't be a hard thing to figure out, honestly. At the end of the day, ask your creator. You go to the one who made you. You throw up your hands. God, guide me. Think about just simple facts between each of the religions. Do a comparative study. No way you can go wrong. Only way you can fail is if you say, I know I'm doing a comparative study, but I know I'm going this way anyway, no matter what happens. You understand what I'm saying? If you got that in your head, then what was the point? I mean, you never asked God for guidance at all. You just basically said, God, I'm going to tell you what religion is going to be for me. And you're going to accept it on the day of judgment, like it or not. And I'm going to present this to you, and you will take this. That's kind of what your attitude really is, but you didn't realize it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we got to submit to his will, not our own. That's all you got to do when you go to paradise. It's simple, man. And follow what he says. Do what he says to do. That's the video, man. Peace.